Friday night. I'm Aaron with Bowtie Treasures here in the Bowtie Treasures studio. It's Friday and it's painting time. And we have a great project continuing here in the studio. It's taken a while to get where I'm at on it. I stained the top with No Pain Gel Stain Espresso. Let me get it up there. There we go. The edge is actually coffee bean. It's already been top coated. So I'm keeping a towel on there because it's no fun to get chalk paint on your stain. So I'm trying to protect that. That's why the towel's there. Put 2 coats of Mint Julep on here. And you really can't see it, but the inside is Mint Julep as well. So I'm not planning on doing the technique tonight on the inside. I think it's gonna be, if I do that, it's gonna dull it down. I really want to be a nice bright surprise in there. I haven't done this technique in a while, the one I'm doing tonight, but we're gonna be using Dyke Glaze and charcoal Dixie dirt. I have demonstrated techniques close to this before, and I call it shading, and I usually use chalk paint. The other product that I've used to accomplish something like this is Voodoo Gel Stain. And I've demonstrated how all 3 of those can kind of create the same look, but I want to demonstrate the Glaze / Dixie dirt technique. I think it comes out a little softer and it has a little bit more of the depth that I want, but don't get me wrong, I could probably still accomplish a lot of this with chalk paint or Voodoo Gel Stain, but tonight we're going to demonstrate the Glaze / dirt. I haven't used that technique in a while, so that's where we're going to go tonight. And I hope that's helpful to you. I'm always about trying some variety of techniques. Let me show you the corner. You can see how I'm building up dark. Really, we're simulating age in dirt, right? I mean, we're showing that maybe it just had wax buildup over time. You might be able to accomplish this again with wax. I just don't normally do wax, so this is where I'm at. And it's also a little tough for me to kind of walk you through the technique. Meaning, I think tonight's live would be, besides me explaining it, I think you're gonna find that sometimes it's just a matter of just soaking it in visually, because I'll be switching brushes. I will be almost erasing, like, oh, that didn't work, let me wipe that off. So really soak in, if you want to try this technique, almost more soak in the points that you see too. So I know that's weird to explain that way, but sometimes I can just, it's kind of like trying to explain blending, you know, it's a pressure, it's a sensitive. But this is a faux technique. What I mean by that is we are pretending, we're painting a piece to look old. It's not like I'm painting it a color and then calling it a day. We are almost doing theatrical art here. And so if you get a little lost in the technique, and hopefully I'm doing a good job explaining it, anything, sit back and enjoy the fact that what I would describe this as more of a faux art technique. So it takes a little bit of just winging it, because you don't know how much of the dirt you need or how much of the glaze you need until you do it. Sometimes I'm finding that it also, I'll come back and add more to it because I'm wiping a lot of it off. So it's kind of a feel it out as you go. And there may be situations where you come back and you say, I didn't put enough, let me come back and do more after it dries, because you don't get too much overwork. You don't want to overwork it too much. And as a side note, I will tell you that it is drying darker than when I work on it. So I want to show you the Dixie dirts. There's earth, ash, and charcoal. Okay, so there's 3 different ones. And probably the best thing to do is to look at the bottoms to see which one. So if you ever go to a retailer, looking at the bottom will tell you kind of which way you're going. You want more of a gray, more of a darker brown, or more medium brown. Tonight, I've been using charcoal, which is the darkest. You can see that. But I want to let you know that there are other colors to that. The nice thing about the dirt, what it's going to do is almost infuse it with even more. So this is, you can see how I'm getting a little bit more aggressive in this area with the dirt. And I think it's it's working out pretty good. But keep in mind, this piece, techniques like this are meant to not be, you're never gonna look at a project like super up close. It's always gonna be appreciated from a distance. But the beauty of this piece, besides the sides, is going to be the front. So I think what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and jump into it, right? I wanna promote one little thing real quick because I've been using it a lot, and that's Dixie Belle's artist brushes. I'm so happy that they came out with brushes. I'm always talking about craft brushes, but to actually be able to promote Dixie Belle's own line of craft brushes, I've been very pleased with them. There is more of a pointed version. There is an angle, a flat, and then a 1-inch. And I love the fact that, for example, there's a hole in the 1-inch so I can hang it up, let it dry. But I've put these brushes through a lot of tests so far, and they have not disappointed me at all. And so you'll see me using these tonight, and I think it's a great value to be able to get all 4 of them. But overall, very pleased with those brushes. So that's my little plug. So tonight I'm going to mainly be using the 1-inch and also the little, I don't know what this one's called, but maybe like a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. But either way, those are the 2 main ones I'm going to use. But you can use any of the brushes that they have for the most part. Okay, so as I mentioned tonight, I'm going to be all over the place. I'll do my best to walk you through what I'm going to be doing. But the #1 star of the show tonight is Van Dyke Brown. This is a glaze. The glazes come with a bit of top coat on it. So that's going to allow it, to slide because it's got a little bit of that top coat feel, and allows also the dirt to stick better. If you use chalk paint or voodoo gel stain, they don't have that consistency that the dirt sticks as well. Not to say it can't work, but it's not meant to be, it's not really as ideal. So whenever I use dirt, I'm always going to use glaze. A couple other things I'm going to have around with me throughout the night is I'm also going to have a couple brushes to blend. And when I say blend, really just vignette or soften. So this is the French tip. Notice it has a nice, somewhat nice point. And then I'm also using the La Petite, only because I love the volume of the size. It's almost like the big brother of the French tip. Okay, they're both natural bristles. These are not synthetic. Okay, I'm not saying, but the fact that they are tapered allows for that soft blending. So that's how you're going to be able to accomplish it. I like this one because I can get in tight spaces, but this one gives me a bigger blended area to soften it up. So I'm going to show you exactly how I accomplish this. Feel free to drop in any questions. I'll do my best to keep an eye on it. About the only other thing that I have nearby is a damp cloth, because it's good to be able to wipe your brush off and just unload some of that extra glaze or dirt. Okay, so keep that handy. So my hands are going to be full. I do want to get my camera further down. When I can, I will move my camera, but I'm going to try and put it about right there. But as I'm working around the leg, you'll notice it's going to get a little crazy. Okay. All right. If you've never used glaze or dirt, I think you'll find it very enjoyable. But the key for me right now is to move quickly, because as soon as you put the product on, it wants to start drying. But be careful, you're going to notice that I will be spraying my brush and not the piece. I don't want my spritz to influence the piece. So this is all dry. So first thing I like to do, and let me get Dixie Belle's. Dixie Belle's Mister bottle is more continuous spray, so you can move it around. Okay. So you can see I'm using the 1-inch craft brush to just quickly get the glaze on there. You don't have to be pretty here, because this is just going to, I'm going to be blending all this out. Don't work too far ahead. Try to work in a small area, and when I say small area, I'll call this leg a small area. I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't go all the way up in the back or the front, because now I can take my French tip and I can blend that in. See how I'm just do my best to stay out of the way here. So right now I'm basically brushing the remains or all of that glaze all over the leg. Now, the damp rag is what I would almost even call your eraser. You don't want glaze somewhere, erase it off. Now here's where I'm going to take the La Petite and I'm going to do bigger, larger sweeping. This is the softener. Like, this is where you're just going to soften the edge. Maybe wipes. You see how a lot of times I'm going to wiping off. This is the part where I'm saying sometimes you just have to see what I'm doing, because I'm doing so many things I can't remember to describe all of it. Because I'm going to be moving ahead, you might just soften that edge knowing that you're going to come back to it. I'd like to keep a highlight on the highlight of this part. So I'm going to wipe some of that glaze off. And when you do that, you still might want to come back and soften where you worked. Now let's bring in some of the dirt. It's still a little sticky, and that's great. And I'll just set that on the side. I don't want to spill that, but while it's sticky, this is when you want to bring in the dirt. Okay, I'm a little bit in the way, I know, but so I'm just kind of touching, dabbing. You don't want to put a lot of this. Well, that's up to you how much you put on there. I'm not going to tell you what to do with that. So you see how I have kind of like a dark. You see that? Okay, that's about as far as I'm going to go with the glaze or the dirt. And now I'm just going to mix that in there. It's not really mixing. You're just moving it around. So you're not like I'm blending chalk paint here. So I'm simulating dirt. Remember, we're doing our kind of faux artistic work here. I'm simulating age and dirt. Soften it if you want, or don't. You might want. You can apply it with your finger if you wanted to. Could I have done that with paint? Yes. It's a different kind of texture. Now, because I just applied dirt with this craft brush, there's still a little dirt in there. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll come in here and I'll just find little places to add a little extra dirt. Maybe in some crevices. I'm looking for places that dirt probably built up. And that's what I'm doing. So you can see do you see I'm holding all my brushes in my hands? Do you see how that's getting really dirty right there? Because everything, your brushes are going to start building up glaze and dirt. Sometimes that could be good. I will tell you that you may not find that your brushes you're not getting the look you want right away because your brushes haven't built up that dirt. Sometimes it's going to get better as you move ahead. Remember what we called our eraser is the rag. If you want to, again, you can come in and find a few areas you want to bring out. So every once in a while I might come back and say, you know, I really want to bring out more of a highlight there. But when you do that, just soften it up. So this is a little bit labor intensive, but if you want the glam, you gotta do the time, right? Be careful because I've already worked down below. Just gonna give it a quick mist. I covered up the bottom section. I will tell you, I haven't ruled it out. I can come back with Mint Julep and put even more highlight back, or even maybe what is it called? White Magic Voodoo Gel Stain. There's so many options. Dixie Belle has so many great products. Okay, so now let's come in with some dirt. See how I'm just touching it? You don't need a lot. I did find that on the back of this piece, I put in a little bit. Let's go a little bit more. And after it dried a little bit or set up a little bit, I actually even came back and did more. So you might think about just slowly building up to it and not charging in full steam ahead. Remember, this will dry darker. Other brush choices you might try, you could use the oval small, oval medium. If you don't have these, it's not the only way to do that. Let me put I'm going to touch just a touch of glaze and a little bit more dirt. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive in here. So it's almost like I'm mixing dirt and glaze. See how I just slapped it on there? Now I'm going to use my brush to soften it. I don't want hard edges. I want it to be soft. And you see how I'm fanning it around? The thing to keep in mind in this technique is that you could overjudge one little area, but the key is how does it look when someone's stepped back? That's really the look we're going for. So it's getting really, we'll call it extra and grungy, and that's great. I wanted this piece to feel like it had been around a while. I'm going to wipe off a little bit more here. And I'm kind of wiping in a faded pressure. Trying not to create a line. Okay. But I did get pretty aggressive there, and that's okay. So I think the key is just make sure that whatever I do, I go across. Let's vignette the drawer, okay? Everybody's going to say, yes, let's do it. The water does allow for the glaze to last a little bit longer. That's probably enough. Don't get too messy. Don't put too much glaze that you're taking a lot of work to get it all off. So there's my rag. You can see how I'm vignetting this. I don't want the glaze in the middle, or I'll have to wipe it off. I did paint underneath the side. You can't do the whole front at one time, so you just have to keep an eye on where you are so that you can wipe. So here's where I'm going to come in with the La Petite. This brush is called, it's a La Petite. I wanted to say the best thing brush, but see, isn't that lovely? You could do that with chalk paint. Again, I'm sorry if I'm in the way. If you need to, come back with your wet rag, maybe wipe off some areas, but just make sure if you're going to do that, I like to mist my brush because it reactivates that glaze. I don't want a hard line. So if you get too far, as I'm demonstrating, just go back there and wiggle around that brush, soften it, keeping an eye on places. Once you get a hang of what your technique is, you should be able to get through your project a little easier. Let's go back to some dirt. I don't want to do a lot here, but I think it'd be appropriate to hit some edges. Let's pull this out. hit some edges. So this is where, again, it's not getting clean very well. Don't let me, I think I showed you guys before pics last week, but give me a second. You would think that the people before me were doing some faux techniques, but it was naturally dirty. So I'm just putting a little bit of dirt on it, right on the edges here. I think that's enough. I don't know that it needs a lot. It has typical French Provincial polishable hardware that are probably going to still the show, so that'll be really nice. But when you step back and you look at the top drawer versus the bottom, the top one looks like I haven't painted it yet, and the bottom looks too fresh. I got a little too far to the middle. And this is your blender. You got an eraser. Let's push it back in there. So like on the top part down here, I'm not really able to get too much in there. I can easily pull this out and do those parts. I definitely wanted to get the glaze into these little, I don't know what you call those, but the little crevices, it's probably what I'd call them, the decorative grooves. You see how I'm leaving this area right there? Work in small areas, work quickly. Have all your materials nearby so you're not all over the place. Although I kind of feel all over the place, but at least controlled chaos, right? And right here, I'm gonna wipe off. I don't want that much there. So it's easy to wipe it off. Just work it all and then go back while it's still wet. And now we'll do a little bit of, got too much dirt. I like to take a screw and just pull that out, put a little bit on the corners. It's crazy, I keep spilling the dirt. I can't really see how much I'm getting, but that's okay. The things you deal with, right, when you're being creative. Probably be good if I move my dirt. But I don't want to kick it. I've already kicked it once. There we go. And if you want to hit the other corners, you could. Just think about where dirt would naturally fall. Like look at the before picture, you'll find out, because it's, I mentioned this last week, but when I bought it from the lady, she's like, yeah, this has been passed down from sister to sister. So right here, where there's a crack, is a good place to go back and rub a little extra dirt in there. You know, places that you know that just didn't get touched much. So I think that's cool. When you step back and you look at the whole process, I really like where it's headed. So glad you guys are joining tonight. Again, if you haven't said hi already, let us know you're watching. Okay, so we're on this side again. Let's do this panel and we'll work around that. We're just going to mist. It's a larger area. So I want to do that first. Then we're going to use our Dyke glaze. At this point, look around any of your edges, like on the leg, before you get there. Make sure you don't have any hard edges, because once that dries, you really can't soften up dry glaze. So I've got some soft areas here, that's fine, soft is fine. Then take a breath, because everybody needs to take a breath, right? I'm going to dip into my Dixie dirt, and then I'm going to come in and just start lightly tapping, scribbling in where I think there would be even more buildup. And I'm going to go ahead and mist my French tip and then start blending that in. If you want to blend, you do not have to do this, but to me, it softens it, makes it look more authentic. Just, you're gonna have to find that fine line of how much, what's the word I'm trying to say, misting of your brush. This is the darkest dirt. I could go with a lighter dirt, but I figured I'm all in, right? I'm just gonna do it. I wanted this piece to be moody, would be the word I would use, so that's kind of what we're doing. So this is just intensifying what I'm already doing. So if you compare the two sides, you can see this side's comfortable, deep. So this is the nice thing about the dirts, is that I've got 3 different dirts I can use to intensify. The glaze does have a little bit of, it's going to start drying on you, but you should be able to still work most of what I'm doing. I'm demonstrating how I would do it, so if I can do it, you can do it. I just wouldn't wait too long because that glaze will start to dry, and then you really, the dirt really has nothing to stick to. Does that make sense? And it's gonna be tougher to blend. I'm misting my French tip just to help activate that glaze a little bit and move that dirt around. If you just joined, there are 3 levels or colors of dirt, and I'm using the darkest one. And I'm just gonna try and protect a little bit on the side. If you do miss this where you've already worked, probably best just don't touch it, let it dry. But sometimes I find that even that misting spritz of water leaves dots that makes it look kind of cool too. So that's about all on glaze I'm going to add to that corner and start working that in. It's always nice sometimes to go and look at the other side just to see if you're getting close, but don't be overly worried if they don't exactly totally match. But the only thing I would try and do as far as matching is the intensity of maybe how much dirt. Like if it's really dark on the far side, then I would try and at least get it dark here. It doesn't have to be exact. You're creating mood. Mood's gonna overpower perfection every day. And I rarely strive for perfect pieces anyway, unless it's supposed to look perfect. And I just don't do a lot of that. Okay, so here we go, adding in the dirt. And trust me, there's someone out there looking for a mint julep, nice, fresh, pure painted vanity. This won't be it. I'm not busting any bubbles, but sorry, this won't be it. But there's plenty of people out there looking for conversational, impactful, moody pieces. This will be it. So I'm not trying to please everybody. So again, here's where I need to look at the other side and kind of say, how am I doing? I think I'm doing pretty good. I mentioned early on that you will find that the glazes most very possibly darken as they dry. And this one is doing exactly what I mentioned, but I'm 100% in on that mood. Give me that mood all day. All right, well, I hope that was helpful. I'll give you guys some insight of how I did this technique tonight, and I'll just keep going with it. I've got a lot of work to do. Be sure to bookmark that link, and hopefully you guys can use that here in the near future. Thank you so much for joining me here in the Bowtie Treasure Studio. I'm Aaron. I'm a Dixie Belle content creator, Thanks so much for always hanging out with me, and let a friend know that we had a good time tonight. They can check it out too. We'll see y'all later. Take care.
That's the end of the show. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell before you go. Bye.